Hey, how's it going? This is Brooks with Character Design Forge. The topic of this video is sort of a culmination of a lot of the things that I've talked about in the last few months of artistic improvement videos, artistic mindset, improving your art. So a lot of times when people are looking for help, I'll get questions along the lines of, how do what should I do to fix this one thing, right? And a lot of these are valid, good questions. A lot of times wanting help and looking for help is obviously a good thing. But sometimes the questions are basically along the lines of, how do I just quick fix this? How do I just solve this right away? All right. And I don't want to disparage the person that asks, what's the quick fix? How do I shortcut this? Right. This game, Burnout Paradise, which this is the remastered version, one of the best, most enjoyable, at least, car-based games ever, as far as I'm concerned. Back when this said PS3 and it was, not remastered, it was the old original version. This version that I'm holding here has all of the DLC, the downloadable content, the extra things that you can buy already roped in. But back then you, of course, needed to buy these things separately. And among the content that was available as DLC was something, it's not important to look up the exact name of it, but basically there were a couple of cars, like 5 cars, that you could unlock in the game just through playing it, right? Just through time or experience. But if you wanted, you could pay like $5 and get like a time unlock key or a time saver key, right? And what's interesting about that's sort of continued in games, especially EA games, who they aren't interested in money at all past the point of sale in their game. But it continues on with things like in-game currency and premium currency, right? The trade-off between sort of just putting the actual time in and just paying and getting the thing immediately. And of course, like, seeking out education and learning about art is valuable, but there, I think, is not a time saver key when it comes to improving your work, and I think a lot of people are under that impression. We are told and taught the story of the tortoise and the hare, right? That slow and steady wins the race. However, I think it's not so often that we see that rewarded or represented in people's success, right? Instead, we get headlines and stories about people who are just overnight successes, right? Literal and figurative lottery winners. And if someone, an artist came up with this idea and all of a sudden it was a crazy whirlwind, right? And they just got all this success, right? And at least for me, and maybe for you, that's a really discouraging thing to see. It at least discourages me from wanting to chip away at that slow and steady work. But what's, I think, more true about art is that the fact that you can't jump to that endpoint, right? And again, in my situation, I have had in the past and continue to sort of work on a defiant mindset when it comes to learning. Initially, it was a defiance over the fact that I did need to improve, right? I don't need to improve, the work is good. And then after that realization that I did indeed need to improve, it was still a defiance of, well, I don't need to do the same basic foundational practice work that others do in order to succeed because I'm different, I'm better than that, I'll figure something out, right? I'll figure out a shortcut to the end. And I'm not saying that you necessarily have the same mindset, but for argument's sake, let's assume that you do. And let's lay out sort of the long-term timeline of what it looks like to just look for shortcuts in your work. And by shortcuts, I mean, basically all you're doing when you sit down to draw and things is the things that you enjoy doing, right? Say it's character design, and so you just enjoy drawing your characters and your new characters and things, and you never take the time and put it aside to actually do some practice, right? Some human anatomy and perspective, things like that. I made a video called, "Are You Too Old to Learn Art?" In which, if you haven't seen it already, I basically said it doesn't matter how old you are, but think about 3 years of dedicated time put toward learning, where you're in the right mind frame, you're putting in the effort, you have time set aside to improve. I think in 3 years you could become a successful artist, give or take, but I think that's a pretty solid number. Now, imagine you have that defiant mindset where you're thinking that you can improve only through shortcuts, right? And so you come up against a problem, you get frustrated with it, which is a valid thing. I think a lot of our problems in art are born of frustration, and so like anything that we're frustrated with, we just want to get it done with, right? We want to get it out of the way, quick fix. But say you come up against hands or knees or elbows or some amount of perspective or drawing buildings in the background, and instead of going through the sort of ground up, the inside out way of learning, you just do a little patch job right over that. I think that honestly, you're going to see very little improvement over the course of 10 years versus that marked improvement over 3. So I think, again, part of this video, this is all one take so far, and a lot of our sort of culture and society right now is about quick convenience and instantaneous gratification, right? And if anyone has ever taught you or led you on to think that art or becoming good at art is something that's available through that means is not being truthful with you. I do tend to edit these videos with some jump cuts, right? And very concise statements, mainly to value your time. But I don't, in this video, I'm making sort of the point of having the patience, right? Having patience is going to allow you to progress further, slow and steady. Chipping away a little bit at a time doesn't seem glamorous at all. But when you look at 10 years of very little growth versus 3 years of sustained growth, you see that practice is the shortcut. So really quickly, what I want you to do is notice what things are a weakness in your work, right? If you have maybe an hour or two a day on average to draw, or an hour or two 3 times a week or something like that, I want you to set aside at least 20 to 40 minutes of the initial part, like the beginning of your drawing session, to that practice. The thing that you don't necessarily want to do, but the thing that is going to help you improve. And what's funny about this practice being the shortcut is it's not a shortcut. You're just putting in the time and work, but you're going to see results in that work that you love doing a lot faster and just like pretty much immediately. And there is a sort of point where you're going to plateau as you go up and you practice this way. But I think honestly, that's going to be the best way for you to improve. And of course, it's helpful to have some guidance and things along the way as you go, but hopefully that is helpful for you. All right, thank you so much, guys. I'm making new videos every week here on Character Design Forge. Subscribing on YouTube lets you know when new videos are made available. My course, Learn Character Design. Oh, I haven't talked about that in a while. I'm actually remaking it. I'm completely remaking it. There's so much to do. A lot of things. It's 2 years old now, and you've probably noticed I haven't talked about it much in my videos for a while, because I'm remaking it. So look forward to that. If you'd like to support me in this channel, you can go to patreon.com/bageldenizen and get, among other things, a personalized video critique of your work, which will help you level up your skills and things. Again, like I'm saying, it is helpful to get that feedback and some guidance and assistance, which is why I never disparage people that are asking those questions. But we're back in the video. It's a difference between like sort of an entitlement to I just need the answer to this thing to fix my thing because I'm frustrated and all that. Anyway, but getting some guidance, which I'm more than happy to help provide through those critiques, is a great way to do that. Thank you so much for watching, and have fun creating.